The message came without sound. It arrived in the middle of the night through every satellite, every space station, every orbital relay. The message was short, cold, and clear. Earth must surrender its independence, join the Galactic Union, or be punished. You have 10 cycles to respond. The Galactic Council had spoken. Their voice echoed across Earth's systems in a dozen alien languages, translated instantly by Terran AI. But the meaning was the same in every tongue. Submit or be destroyed. For the people of Earth, the silence after the message was louder than the message itself. On the moon's main defense base, Commander Rilland stared at the transmission. He didn't blink. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Nira, looked nervous. "They gave us a deadline," she said softly. Ryland finally spoke. "They think we'll beg. They think we're weak," Nira replied. "They always did." Tensions in the council. Away, on the floating chambers of the Galactic Council, alien leaders watched the Earth's silence with growing frustration. The Speaker of the Council, a tall, golden-skinned Varnax named Helvath, slammed his clawed hand on the table. "This is not acceptable. The Terrans insult us by not responding." A blue-scaled ambassador from the Linari species raised a hand. "Perhaps we push too hard. Humanity has changed since the last war." Helvath growled. "Changed. They're apes with metal toys. They do not deserve empire status." Another ambassador laughed. "Let them try to fight. It'll be over in hours." But not all council members were laughing. Some remembered the last war with Earth. The humans had barely survived, but they had done terrible things, just to stay alive. Some council members still had nightmares about it. Earth's leaders gather back on Earth, in a secret underground chamber below Geneva. Leaders of the Terran Empire gathered. Military commanders, scientists, diplomats, and AI advisors all stood around a massive black table. At the head of it stood General Myra Voss. She had silver hair, sharp eyes, and a voice that could freeze fire. She looked at the message on the wall one more time. "Join us or be punished." She turned to the room. "Well, thoughts?" One admiral spoke up. "Their fleet is 5 times larger than ours." A diplomat added, "They'll crush us, unless we agree." But Myra didn't flinch. "You think? We haven't planned for this. You think we've sat here for decades, just watching the stars for fun?" She pressed a button. A hologram lit up, showing hidden Terran fleets cloaked near council borders, advanced weapon systems that no other species had seen, a map of sabotage cells already deep inside council territory. "We knew this day would come," she said, "and we're ready." The ghost plan in a chamber even deeper. A shadowy figure stood before a screen of moving code. This was Ghost, the head of Terran intelligence. No one knew their real name. No one had to dot. Ghost was watching the Council's communications. Every threat, every ship movement, every lie. They turned to their assistant. "Are the protocols active?" "Yes." The assistant replied. "All Ghost fleets are cloaked. Cyber units are in place, and the dark net pulses are ready for detonation." Ghost smiled. "Good. Let the Council think we're slow. Let them feel big." The calm before the storm. Earth didn't reply to the Council's warning. Not on day 1, not on day 2, not on day 5. Across the galaxy, news channels asked the same question. Why is Earth silent? Was it fear, or were they preparing something? On the 9th day, the Council sent a second warning. "This is your final chance. Join us or face total erasure." Earth still didn't reply. But something strange happened. Council ships near the edge of the Terran border started disappearing. One scout ship vanished from sensors. A communications relay exploded without warning. A defense outpost received a strange message on its screens. "We're watching." Council officers panicked. Is it a virus? A hack? A trick? But it was none of those. It was a warning. The Terran response begins. On the 10th day, Earth finally spoke. One single message. A black screen with white words. It played across every council ship, every outpost, every world that had dared to support the ultimatum. You threatened the wrong planet. Then the screen turned off. In silence, massive ships began to move from Earth's orbit. They had no names, no flags, just silent metal giants, powered by technologies the galaxy had never seen. General Mira stood on the bridge of the flagship Judgment. She watched the stars in front of her and whispered, "It's time to remind them who we are." Asterisk, the galaxy knew Earth as a young empire. Loud, bold, unpredictable. But they didn't know Earth's true history. They didn't know what it survived. Forgotten wars long before the stars. Earth had almost ended itself. There were wars over land, over water, over nothing. Entire cities were turned into ashes. Nuclear fire once touched the sky. Then came the AIS machines built by humans that almost wiped them out. But Earth never died. Instead, it learned, it adapted, it remembered. Now, those lessons were hidden deep inside the Terran Empire. Not in books, not in museums, but in the minds of those who survived. The woman behind the Empire General, Mira Voss, wasn't born a soldier. She was born in fire. Her parents died in the AI uprising when she was only 5. She watched machines burn her city while hiding under floorboards. She grew up in bunkers, learned to shoot before she could write, and joined the resistance before she was a teenager. Now, she stood at the top of Earth's command. She didn't want war, but she knew how to win one. And that made her the most dangerous woman in the galaxy. Terran's secrets in orbit above Neptune. A dark station floated silently. It didn't appear on council maps. No ships were ever allowed near it. Its name was Black Echo, and inside it were Earth's darkest secrets. Admiral Thorne stood inside the command center, watching rows of glass tanks filled with strange shapes. Biological weapons, nanite storms, AI-controlled drones, smarter than most alien civilizations. He turned to his team. "Are the Echo protocols ready?" A scientist nodded. "Fully operational. We only need the General's word." Thorne looked at the message on his screen. "Stand by. Prepare for activation." He smiled. "It begins." Council fear grows in the central chambers of the Galactic Council. Panic was growing. The Terrans had finally responded then. Now entire patrols were missing. Communication relays were dead. Spy satellites had gone blind. Councillor Helvath shouted, "This is war. Earth is attacking without declaration." But no one could prove anything. There were no battles, no formal strikes, just silence. Followed by absence, ships vanished. Outposts blinked out like stars dying in the night. An ambassador from the Girathi spoke in fear. "We've seen this pattern before, in their human history. This is how they fight. Quiet, precise, ruthless." The room fell silent, even the proudest. Council members felt it no doubt. Earth's phantom fleet far beyond council borders. Near the gas giant Goratith, a small outpost detected strange energy readings. Commander Sylvic, A feathered alien stared at the screen. "What is that?" his officer replied. "Unknown. There's nothing on radar, but there's movement." Before Sylvik could speak again, the lights died. Outside, black ships moved like shadows, covered in stealth fields. No noise, no warning. A single message appeared on the outpost's main screen. "We warned you." Then the outpost was gone, swallowed in a wave of plasma and silence. Voices of the people across council worlds. People began asking questions. Why are we fighting Earth? Why are our soldiers disappearing? Why did the council threaten them first? Old footage of Earth's wars began circulating, how humans fought against extinction, against machines, even against nature itself. How they rebuilt every time, stronger and smarter. On the trade hub of Velros, a group of alien students held signs that read, "Let Earth be free. No war for control." Council security tried to stop the protests, but the message was spreading. The galaxy was waking up, and it no longer feared Earth. Mira's message back on Earth. General Myra stood before a private camera. She recorded a message not for the council, but for the galaxy. No music, no lights, just her face, calm, direct. "We are not monsters. We are not conquerors. But we are not your pets." The council demanded obedience. "We chose freedom. We do not seek war, but if war comes, we will not hold back. We survived our own worst days. You will not break us." The message was sent anonymously, but every major channel received it. The people listened, even on council worlds, even in silence, building, storming secret shipyards hidden behind Saturn's rings. Earth's fleets were forming. Battleships, carriers, stealth drones, all fueled by AI, quantum engines, and decades of hidden development. Commanders gave quiet orders. No one shouted, no one celebrated. They were not preparing for glory, they were preparing for survival, and maybe, just maybe, revenge. Final line. General Myra stood on the bridge of her ship Judgment. She looked at the stars ahead, then at her officers. Status: all units ready, all ghost fleets deployed, all sabotage teams in place. Myra gave a single nod. "Then we move at dawn." The galaxy believed humans would bend. They were wrong. The Galactic Council believed Earth was bluffing. They believed wrong. Hook, day of arrival on the edge of the Zeran system. A large galactic fleet drifted in orbit. 50 warships, armed with ion cannons and neutron shields, faced one planet, a Terran colony named New Avalon. The Council expected a message of surrender. Instead, they got silence. Captain Dorrell, a lizard-like commander from the Trelawney species, stood on his bridge and chuckled. "These Terrans have no idea who they're dealing with," he hissed. He gave the order, "Prepare to fire on their communication hub." But before the command could be finished, the stars behind his ship blinked, not because they were gone, but because something huge was moving in front of them. The crew turned. What they saw made them freeze. A Terran dreadnought was decloaking, its hull black like deep space, shaped like a blade. No lights, no warning, and then more appeared. 1, 2, 5, 12 massive ships emerged from the dark, surrounding the Council fleet. Captain Dorrell gasped. "It's a trap." Terran strike begins from the lead dreadnought, TSV Dominion. A signal was sent, no words, just one symbol. The Terran flag, red and black, burning behind. A silver planet. Then the attack began. Terran weapons were unlike anything the Council had seen. Where the Council used plasma bolts and particle beams, The Terrans used pulse cannons, magneto-lancers, and quantum spikes that tore through shields like paper. One council ship exploded before it could turn. Another tried to flownly to be hit by a silent swarm of micro-drones that melted its engines. In less than 6 minutes, half the fleet was gone. Doral's final broadcast captain, Doral, injured and bleeding, crawled to his command console. He opened a distress channel to the Galactic Council. His face was shaking, eyes wide with terror. "This is Captain Doral of the 7th Fleet. We're under attack. It's not war, it's slaughter. Terran Tech 2, advanced. How did they build this?" Static dot. Then a Terran voice replaced his signal. It was General Mira. "The Council started this. We'll finish it. Send your fleets. We're ready." Then the signal cut. Nothing more came from the Zeran system. Backlash at the Council. When the broadcast reached the Council chambers, chaos erupted. Helvath smashed his metal fist on the table. "Impossible. They don't have that kind of fleet." The Linari ambassador whispered, "They do now." Councillor Marixa, from the aquatic world of Tura, stood in horror. "We've made a mistake. We provoked a sleeping giant." Roared, "Then we must crush it. Send the full armada to Earth." But other council members hesitated. Fear was spreading faster than orders. What if Earth wasn't bluffing? What if they weren't defending, but preparing to conquer? Ghost in the network inside the Terran Empire. Ghost, the master of intelligence, watched every council reaction in real time. He smirked. The panic was expected, calculated. He turned to his AI assistant. "Deploy Phase 2. Yes, Ghost. Operation Blind Eye is active." Across council systems, something strange began happening. Defense grids failed. COMMS went offline. Banking systems, GLITCHED. Entire planets dropped into darkness. Terran AI viruses for 20 years were now spreading like fire through the Council's digital spine. The Council didn't just lose ships, they were losing control. The power of Silence Earth made no public statement. There were no speeches, no claims of victory, only silence. That silence was louder than any war cry in markets. Aliens stopped trading. On border worlds, civilians packed their homes and fled. On one council planet, a school was evacuated after rumors of Terran ships being spotted near orbit. Even though no fleet was present, it didn't matter. The fear had already arrived. Myra's strategy back aboard the Judgment. General Myra studied the star map. Admiral Thorne appeared beside her. "We've taken Zeran. We're receiving requests for surrender from 2 Council colonies." Mira nodded. "Good, but no mercy yet. They threatened extinction. We answer with dominance." Thorne hesitated. "And if they send everything?" Myra looked at him calmly. "Then they'll learn what everything costs." The message the galaxy heard in the days that followed. Terran fleets struck 4 more systems, always the same pattern. No warning. Quick, precise strikes. No civilian deaths. Council, military only. It was war with rules, but the message was clear. Earth doesn't beg. Earth breaks chains. One galactic journalist, hiding on a neutral moon, posted a new headline that went viral. Across thousands of systems, the Terran Empire doesn't fight like US, they fight like they've already won. Asterisk, the galaxy was no longer watching Earth. Now, it was watching the fire Earth had released. And that fire was spreading fast. The war, grows for Council systems had fallen, not to full invasion, not to occupation, but to destruction of control. Terran forces didn't take over. They struck military targets, disabled command centers, and vanished. It was like fighting shadows. Shadows made of steel, fire, and silence. In the Elton system, a council fleet of 20 warships waited in orbit. They had better weapons, more numbers, stronger shields, but it didn't matter. When the Terran ships arrived, they didn't come from the front. They came from beneath the system, emerging from the gravitational shadows of Elton's second moon. By the time the Council ships turned their weapons, 5 of their vessels were already burning. The Terrans didn't wait for orders. They fired first. They fired fast, and they left nothing behind. Fear inside the Council Inn, the Grand Council chamber. The fear was visible now. Councillor Helveth no longer shouted. He stared blankly at a screen showing the most recent system loss. Only 3 Terran ships had taken down 17 Council warships. Hal whispered. An intelligence officer, shaking, gave the answer. They're not fighting like us. They don't hold ground. They erase threats and vanish. They use stealth AI, tricks we don't understand. Councillor Marixa added, and they don't target civilians. That's winning them support across the outer colonies. Helvath slammed the table again. We are the Galactic Council. We've ruled for 600 cycles. But his voice sounded weak now, even to himself. The galaxy was no longer listening. The broadcast, that broke the stars. Then came the broadcast, not from Earth, not from a soldier, but from a council colony called Marad Prime. It was a video, a simple one. A farmer, standing in his burned field, looked into the camera. Behind him, Terran medics were helping civilians, offering food and medical kits despite being from the enemy. The farmer said, "The council said the Terrans would destroy us, but they saved my daughter's life. If this is the enemy, maybe we're on the wrong side." The video spread faster than fire in dry air. Outer colonies began refusing council orders. Some even sent secret messages to Earth, asking for protection. Fire and Ice General Myra watched the galaxy shift from her command ship. Fleet reports poured in. Systems surrendering without a fight. Council ships, defecting planets, declaring independence. Admiral Thorne stood at her side. "They're breaking, General." Myra nodded, because they were never united. They ruled by fear. But now someone else is more feared. She looked at the star map. So far, we've been measured, controlled. But it's time we show them what true fire looks like. The wrath of Taratat. The edge of council space sat Targon, a fortress system. The last line before the council's core worlds. Its defenses were unmatched. Orbital cannons, drone swarms, shield grids powered by 5 suns. No army had ever cracked Targon. Until now. The Terran fleet didn't attack with brute force. Instead, they released Project RAGN-AROK from deep space. Terran ships launched a device the size of a bus. It spun slowly, glowing with cold, blue light. The device was made of quantum entanglement disruptors, something no council scientist had ever seen. In seconds, Targon's power grid shut down, shields dropped. Defense drones stopped midair and crashed into buildings. And then came the fire. Terran dreadnoughts opened up with heat lances and pulse barrages. Structures melted. Space stations cracked apart. But once again, no civilians were harmed. Hospitals were untouched. Shelters remained standing. Only the Council's military strongholds were wiped from the sky. Helveth's last stand councillor, Helveth, watched the fall of Targon in horror. He knew what it meant. The next strike would be the Council's capital. He turned to his guards. "Bring me transport. We must escape." But they didn't move. One of the guards removed her helmet. She wasn't Council at all. She was Terran intelligence. "You don't run anymore," she said. "Your war ends here." Helveth fell to his knees, defeated not by weapons, but by the weight of his own arrogance. The galaxy reacts. Every world now knew the truth. The Terran Empire wasn't fighting for power. They were fighting for respect. They had given peace a chance. The Council offered chains. Earth responded with fire, but controlled fire. Fire with purpose. Fire with honor. Even former enemies now feared and respected them. One alien news anchor summed it up best. The Terran Empire doesn't conquer. It corrects. Silent skies. In the days after Targon, there were no more battles. Terran fleets held position near the Council capital. But they didn't fire. They didn't speak. They waited. The Council had one last chance, and Earth had already made its point. The sky above the Galactic Council's capital world was quiet. Too quiet. No trading ships, no Council patrols, no diplomatic shuttles, just a fleet of Terran warships, waiting. They had not fired a single shot, but their silence was louder than any weapon. The final Council meeting, inside the Council chamber. The remaining leaders sat round a long, curved table. Their eyes were tired, their robes wrinkled, their pride broken. Councillor Marixa, once firm in her loyalty, now looked down. We were wrong. Councillor Helvath, now a prisoner, sat in a chair to the side. His hands were bound, his face pale. "I warned them," he muttered. "They wouldn't listen." A debate began. One group wanted to surrender. Another still believed they could fight, but most just wanted peace. The truth was clear. The Terran Empire had won not by numbers, but by precision. Not with chaos, but with ruthless control. And now, the Council had to face the cost. Earth's final message came from the lead Terran ship. No video, no face, just audio. It was General Mira Voss. Her voice was calm, strong, final. You demanded our surrender. You called us primitive, dangerous, wild. You threatened our future. Now you will listen. The chamber went still. We do not seek to rule your worlds. We do not want your throne. But we will never kneel again. You have two choices. Dissolve the Council and end your rule, or prepare for a war you cannot survive. You have 24 hours. The signal ended. No demands for resources, no threat of invasion, just one demand. Respect. Across the stars, the message spread faster than light. World after world tuned in. Even small colonies on the galaxy's edge played the words. On industrial planets once loyal to the Council, workers stopped their machines and listened in silence. On farming moons, old veterans of earlier wars stood at attention. Children in classrooms watched teachers cry not in fear, but in relief. Finally, someone had stood up to the Council and won the vote to the Council chamber, prepared for the vote, dissolve or resist. Councillor Marixa stood first. "I vote to dissolve." "We have failed." Others followed. One by one, they raised their hands. When the vote was over, only 2 opposed. The Council was no more. The handshake a week later. On neutral grounder, White Station called New Dawner, small group of Terran and former Council representatives met. General Myra entered the room in a black uniform. No medals, no cape, just steel in her eyes. Across from her stood Councillor Marixa, humbled, quiet. The room held its breath as the 2 women stepped forward. Myra extended her hand. Marixa hesitated, then took it. That handshake changed the galaxy. It wasn't just peace, it was balance. A new order after the war. Things didn't return to normal. They became better. A new coalition formed, the Stellar Accord, built, not on control, but on shared power. Humans had a seat. So did other independent species. Laws were rewritten. Colonies were freed. Trade became fair. The Terran Empire didn't lead it, but everyone knew they were the reason it existed. Helvaths, Fatas, for Helvath, the loudest voice of war, he was taken to a quiet prison on Europa's frozen moon. There were no guards with weapons. Just one camera. He spent his days watching the stars. One day, a message arrived in his cell. It played on loop. You thought Earth was weak. You thought wrong. The monument, years later, on a peaceful Terran colony near a blue giant star. A monument was built, not to celebrate war, but to remember the cost of arrogance. It was a simple stone tower, with names of the fallen Terran and alien alike carved into its surface at the base. An inscription read, "They came to control us, we answered with fire. Then we chose peace." Tourists from across the galaxy came to visit. Many left with tears in their eyes. The legacy of Myra, Vos General Myra, never called herself a hero. After the war, she retired quietly. She returned to her home, quiet green valley on Earth's southern continent. She grew flowers, taught young cadets history, and every year, on the day of the final vote, she stood alone beneath the stars. Not to remember victory, but to remember the moment. Earth proved it didn't need to be feared to be respected, just understood. Asterisk, the galaxy had forgotten Earth's fire. But Earth never forgets.